Bajaj Auto. In the 1970s, it was a monopoly in the two-wheeler business with sales of 100,000 vehicles in 76-77. But with the 90s came the challenge. Bajaj's primary product, geared scooters, ran out of favor. The age of motorcycles had arrived. With strong competitors lining up sleek products, Bajaj was left miles behind. The writing on the wall was clear: revitalize or regress. But what caused the downturn in the first place?
What happened? Nothing happened except that it took time. And if I may say so, when this happened around the mid-90s, a good thing happened for the company. That this guy, who was there in 95 for 30 years from 65, took one correct decision, last correct decision in his life. Enough is enough for the company. They've had enough of me. I've had enough of this. I want to do something else, curse somebody else rather than me and my colleagues here. And I handed over to a new professional team gradually. It didn't happen overnight. It happened between 1995 and 2000. Very gradual, to a professional team which included my two sons, with the elder one, Rajiv, being the president of the company only 2 years ago. And I must say that this team did a great job. Perhaps I couldn't have done that job because I didn't have that fire burning in my belly at that time, which I had in the 60s, 70s and 80s. By mid-90s, that fire was burning for doing something else. I'm not going to retire. I'm going to die with my shoes on, but not managing Bajaj Auto, that's for sure.
When you want to bring changes to the organization, it is very important that the organization has to look at two things. One, do they have people who are able to think differently within the organization? Or do they have to bring certain people from the outside of the organization to create the change, or to at least breathe and talk and brainstorm these kind of changes within the organization? So one good thing about Bajaj is that the president of the company himself is a very young person. So, and his knowledge about two-wheelers per se, and his engineering passion for making a enjoyable, at the same time energetic and sexy product has been with him for long.
Hey ma, और कुटू? That is hot.
So I did gradually, means day-to-day work and operations. This R&D, new models coming in, is all Rajiv and his team. I have not been involved at all for the last 5 years, 6 years. That is not my forte. I never brought out new models for 25 years, remember? That's the criticism that is made. Yeah, I did.
Yes. You were not required to as well.
Only fools need to bring out new models. I brought out a model which had a 10-year delivery period for 20 years. What more do you want, yaar? No successful product like that in the history of India.
But there could be an argument for saying that if you had brought in a team earlier, you wouldn't have gone through the ups and downs which you have.
That's typical academic writers would say that, after the thought, after the fact. Nonsense.
No. Let's pick up exactly.
When it happened, actually, how could you have brought in the team when it was still a 10-year delivery period in scooters?
Therefore.
But that was happening in 84.
No, 88, 89. I had a 10-year delivery period of scooters in 89.
You yourself
only in the 90s it changed.
But
and delivery period changed. The demand didn't shift to scooters. 45% demand for all two-wheelers for scooters stayed till 95.
As a strategy, I'll put it in a very simple scenario. See, we needed to completely redo our own internal thinking to go with the mainstream of the demand segmentation that has happened in the country. Just 4 years back, 50% of every two-wheelers were scooters. Today, it's scooters, I'm talking of geared scooters, it's only 10% of the total market. 75% of the two-wheelers are today motorcycles. So when Bajaj had to adopt itself to the mainstream of demand, we need to first understand who are these consumers, and who are they? Why are they buying this? The first thing that is very critical here is style, form are more important than actually the function. So when you looked at style and form, we have to address whom are we looking at this segment. And one more important point when we shifted this focus, while fuel efficiency is the main barometer for all 4-stroke motorcycles, the consumers are far more younger in their demand and far more younger in their behavior and far more younger in their exposition and expectation from the market, from the people who offer. So when we made this shift, it was necessary for us first to make them to look at us with a renewed interest. Everybody knew Bajaj. Everybody knew Bajaj is strong, reliable, efficient and value for money. But what was missing probably in the past was they were looking at excitement from Bajaj for a person who was wanting to buy a first two-wheeler and that to a bike.
Kawasaki Bajaj Caliber, the unshakable.
It was time to cook sour. Time for retrenchment. Over 2,000 of Bajaj's 17,000 employees were offered early retirement. The VRS package cost over 80 crore rupees, but with the promise of greater productivity. A rational management decision riddled with emotional hurdles.
Now, there is still a big human cost. The persons came and told me, who have been with me 25 years, Rahul Saab, my family thought, my children thought, my wife thought, I was a highly competent manager. What do I tell them now? Why have I been asked to go home? I understand that you are not saying I am bad. You are just saying we have too many people. You have to restructure. I realize that, but I can't show my face at home. There are different ways of saying it. And I was crying.
Then you go and deceive me like it's all in the game. All in the game.
But and I talked to my son, we did something, this. But he said, I see that point. But he said, otherwise all of 13,000 will cry with no salary, no VRS. We have to survive. The number of people for a comparable production that TVS employs is much less than even today's strength. Rajiv says, not 13,000 that I have today or less than 13, I need 10,000 people to make, if not more, 2 million vehicles. I can make 2 million vehicles per year, which this year will make 1.5, the target is 1.54, but we'll do 1.5. And he says, I need 10,000 people only, please help me. Rest I am doing myself, but this legal and government and this, that's your problem. You shield me from the external environment and don't interfere in the internal one.
When we realized that not only for cost, but even in direction, we couldn't manage with 1,000 suppliers, and we balanced the cost cutting with reduction in numbers, suppliers actually gained because they were getting now twice the volume, many of them. Within the plant again, when we talk of the cost cutting, almost every cost cutting idea is backed by some improvement, and the morale building is really by focusing on the improvement. What we also do is each cell makes a presentation once a month to the plant head with the ideas that have actually resulted in the cost cutting, and these ideas are generated from the cell members, so they could be the workers, the frontline supervisors, and I think just by them involving them in this process, we've just found that we're getting so many ideas and people are actually motivated to do this.
The point, as a business person in charge, looking over this operation, you are shrinking one business and you are putting money into the other at the same time. Obviously,
actually, I'm not shrinking this business. In fact, I hate the fact that it's shrunk. The customer has shrunk this business.
The market has shrunk.
And we are taking steps even now to see that it may not come back to its older glory, but I should be making 40,000 scooters, geared scooters per month. And in the next 2 years, we want to do that.
But
we may not succeed.
Inherent riskiness one business, market is shrinking, and therefore you're seeing it go down before your eyes day after day, and you're taking such a large bet.
That is the opportunity. I mean, okay, if it's risk, fine. I don't want to argue that point. Then okay, we were very risk taking, but no, it would not be an honest reply because you had no choice. And if it's not that you went into helicopters, even keeping in mind conveyance or into cars, you were already making everything. You just said, if we kept increasing our capacity of scooters in the 80s, no. The book says, and her earlier book also says, in the 80s, Bajaj Auto amongst the large companies had the highest rate of growth, even higher than Reliance. And today Reliance is nowhere near, I mean, we are nowhere near Reliance, fine. In the 90s, the whole thing changed. But so we had to add capacity for scooters. Now we add capacity for motorcycles. Little bit, very little bit of the scooter capacity was shifted wherever we could, the excess capacity. But many new things had to be done. And so that was added. Hundreds of crores in the last 5-7 years were added, which can be seen from the annual report. And
But Rahul,
what I'm trying to say is that was nothing great for the company and the management.
You're saying you just
otherwise, the management should be sacked. What's so special in that? The competence comes from those vehicles which were brought out. Some with Kawasaki help, but even then with our know-how. Our R&D today is the best in India. In the two-wheeler industry or even automotive industry, equal to maybe Tata, TVS, maybe, nobody else.
Increasingly your focus, while the product itself is very great, you seem to be, I may be wrong, but you seem to be underplaying the importance of the mindset change that happened in the company on marketing, on brand.
No, I didn't. Till now you are talking about this. The mindset, absolutely. I am quoted to say, who wants a marketing department? I have a dispatch department. It didn't mean that I didn't know what marketing was. I had also done a little bit of my MBA at Harvard. But with the 10-year delivery period, you can't market. You don't get a good marketing manager anyway. What will you do? Today, with the best product, you will fail if you don't have good marketing, just as the best marketing in the world, Mr. Kotler or any the best marketing whiz kids in the world can't sell an inferior product. That's very clear. You first need substance, you need product. Then you need marketing. What do you need marketing? Energize your dealers. Pick the right dealers.
Over the last now 12 to 18 months, we've realized that we really need to spread our sales network. And we're making a lot of effort to going into smaller towns, to go into rural areas. In this, whatever is required to be spent, again, as I said, these are not large numbers, but we go ahead and spend it because we know it is important. When, on the other hand, we come to something like our advertising budget, which is a fairly large number. Last year it was about 120 crores. What we do is we don't just go by a percentage game. Typically today our publicity budget is 3.5–4% of net sales.
चलने वाले राह में रुकना न हार के.
So one way is to cap it to make sure it doesn't go higher than that. But again, what we do is, for example, we were at about 3.5–4% and roughly this kind of number 2 years ago. Last year, we consciously decided not to